What is really happening behind the closed doors of the British royal family? A simmering rumor has begun to spread, shaking the very foundations of Buckingham Palace. Prince William, the heir to the throne, has taken an unprecedented step by directly intervening in the royal titles of Queen Camilla's family. And, as expected, Camilla is said to be furious. Reports suggest she didn't hold back her outrage upon hearing the news. But what could have driven William to take such a bold move? Is this merely a symbolic gesture? Or is it the opening salvo in a deeper power struggle within the royal household? Could it be that Prince William is trying to restore order and dignity to his mother Diana's legacy by diminishing the influence of the Parker Bowles clan? And what about Camilla, the woman who journeyed from the other woman to queen? Will she surrender so easily? This story is far more complex than what the public is being told. Join us as we trace each clue, peel back the layers of royal intrigue, and uncover why this clash might just mark the beginning of a new storm within the House of Windsor. According to senior sources, Prince William has formally initiated the process of revoking the royal privileges of Camilla's family, including ceremonial titles, status references, and informal access that Camilla had quietly secured for her children and grandchildren over the years. Although Camilla's relatives were never in the official line of succession, their growing presence in royal circles frustrated traditionalists and infuriated William and Kate behind the scenes. Now, that presence is being systematically dismantled. In what aides call a monarchy reset, William reportedly instructed the palace to eliminate all honorary affiliations granted to the Parker Bowles family, including their inclusion in royal invitations, seating arrangements at state events, and any mention in internal royal communications. This adjustment is presented as a restoration of strict constitutional alignment, but beneath the formal language lies a clear and stern message. The monarchy is for those born into it, not those who marry into it, and certainly not their extended families. How did Camilla react? Explosively, furiously, personally. Multiple sources report that Camilla erupted in rage, bursting into tears, shouting at staff, and labeling the directive a deliberate public humiliation. One witness overheard her yell, "I've spent decades earning my place, and now he's erasing me and my family with one stroke." It wasn't just that her grandchildren were barred from royal ceremonies. Her legacy was being severed from the crown. Despite her role as queen consort alongside Charles, the timing makes this even more striking. With King Charles facing mounting health concerns and William taking on more public duties, this decision seems to offer an early glimpse of William's reign, a leaner, stricter monarchy, free of controversy and personal favoritism. Camilla views this as more than a policy shift. It's a personal betrayal. Behind palace walls, a quiet struggle is unfolding, not just over titles, but for the monarchy's very survival. Camilla Parker Bowles has played a long game for years. No one expected her to become queen, let alone one of the most powerful women in the monarchy. Vilified by the public, dismissed by royal traditionalists, and forever branded as the woman who came between Charles and Diana, Camilla not only secured her own crown, but began building an empire around it through calculated silence, steadfast loyalty, and impeccable timing. That empire extended beyond herself. It gradually encompassed her children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, and then her 5 grandchildren. none of whom carry a drop of royal blood, but all of whom began appearing in royal settings, raising eyebrows behind the scenes. Tom and Laura, Camilla's children from her former marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, were initially obscure in royal circles. They lived quietly, rarely appeared in press photos, and held no formal roles within the royal family. But after Camilla married Charles in 2005, and especially as her public image softened in the 2010s, subtle changes emerged. These began with special access, private invitations to royal residences, participation in high-security family events, and even appearances at major public ceremonies. Albeit on the sidelines, Camilla's children received no formal titles, but were granted quiet advantages. Staff began referring to them as the Queen's family, and courtiers were instructed to include them in certain royal documents, guest lists, and ceremonial protocols. According to a former royal aide, it started subtly, a name on a list here, a seat closer to the front there. But then, in the blink of an eye, they were treated as part of the royal inner circle. Camilla's shrewd patience made this possible, never demanding too much at once. She gradually crafted a narrative of inclusivity, arguing that blended families should be embraced in a modern monarchy. Her boldest move came during King Charles's coronation, when her grandsons Gus, Louis Lopes, and Freddie Parker Bowles served as pages of honor. These roles were traditionally reserved for royal descendants or sons of dukes. The decision stunned some insiders. The coronation was a line in the sand, one courtier explained. It wasn't just about respect for Camilla, it was a clear signal. Her family had arrived. Reports suggest Camilla quietly advocated for her grandchildren to receive ceremonial titles, or at least public recognition, which would carry symbolic weight even without succession rights. She wanted her family to leave a lasting legacy, to be seen as an indelible part of the monarchy's future. What followed was a discreet but determined campaign. Royal photographers were expected to take extra pictures of Camilla's grandchildren at events. Public relations staff were encouraged to mention them in media briefings. Some staff joked, albeit with unease, that the monarchy was slowly evolving into a dual dynasty, the Windsors by blood and the Parker Bowles by proximity. Not everyone was amused. Prince William, in particular, grew increasingly concerned. Sources close to him say he believed Camilla was overstepping, exploiting her position beside the king to blur the lines between royal duty and personal preference. He was uncomfortable with presenting children unrelated to the crown as key members of the monarchy. Princess Kate shared these concerns. They have always believed in a streamlined, duty-bound monarchy. One source explained, for them, it wasn't just about titles, it was about preserving the crown's integrity. Yet Camilla persisted. She reportedly lobbied for her grandchildren to have permanent ceremonial roles at official events, receive courtesy titles, and even requested new residences for her family on royal estates. All were quietly denied, delayed, or ignored. But behind those rejections, a storm was brewing. While Camilla was busy expanding her family's presence, Prince William was planning to reclaim the palace for the Windsors, and only the Windsors. What began as mild favoritism was now perceived as an unofficial power grab. The heir to the throne was no longer willing to stay silent. For years, William watched quietly as the monarchy became unrecognizable, bloated, diluted, and increasingly blurred between bloodline and social favor. He remained composed in public, projecting the image of a devoted son and heir. but behind palace walls. He was plotting a reboot to return the monarchy to its roots, lean, legitimate, and distinctly Windsor. Those closest to William say his vision is driven by duty, not ego, a genuine belief that the crown must be shielded from the corrosive effects of sentiment, controversy, and secondary royalty. While he respects his father's affection for Camilla, he has made it clear that love does not equal lineage. A core principle underpins William's plan. Only those of royal blood will represent the monarchy. No honorary titles for in-laws, no ceremonial roles for children unrelated to the crown, no blurred lines. William believes the crown must rise above favoritism and family politics. Palace sources say he has long been troubled by the public's growing disapproval of royal extravagance. He studied polling data, followed tabloid scandals, and observed reactions whenever taxpayer funds supported distant relatives with little constitutional relevance. His approach is rooted in the core monarchy philosophy of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II, envisioning a compact, focused royal team centered on the sovereign, their direct heirs, and working royals performing official duties, nothing more, nothing less. As he gains prominence, William has begun implementing this vision step by step. First came internal memos revising ceremonial rosters, updating public engagement roles, and removing individuals not directly tied to the line of succession. Then followed public moves, ensuring only blood relatives were front and center at major events, reducing the visibility of extended family members, and, most controversially, rescinding Camilla's honorary privileges for her grandchildren. This was not petty. It was calculated. The monarchy cannot afford confusion, William reportedly told a senior advisor. The public must know who serves and who merely stands beside. To some, this may seem harsh, but William sees it as necessary. He believes the crown should embody clarity over compassion for the sake of ease. If the royal family is to survive in an era of skepticism, controversy, and social media, its identity must be unassailable, requiring tough decisions his father has long avoided. Charles, for all his virtues, is seen as a sentimental ruler. He values old friendships, assigns symbolic roles, and often avoids conflict for the sake of family unity. But William is different. His approach is deliberate, modern, and increasingly uncompromising. Nothing exemplifies this shift more than his refusal to let Camilla's family benefit from her royal status, no matter how long she has worn the crown. William views Camilla as the monarch's consort, not the monarchy's matriarch. Her children and grandchildren? Simply private citizens. This reset does not reject Camilla as a person, but the system that allowed personal favoritism to seep into Buckingham Palace. William does not aim to preside over a sentimental court. He aspires to lead a rebuilt institution, clean, credible, and stripped to its essential core. Camilla has suffered a heavy blow. But for William, this is the first step toward preserving the monarchy for the next generation. His generation. When Queen Camilla learned the news, one aide described the reaction in Clarence House as nothing short of volcanic. The elegance and calm of her royal residence were shattered by an outburst of rage and disbelief. Though royal tantrums are rarely discussed publicly, those close to the Queen consort say this one was unmistakable. Upon learning of William's formal order to revoke all honorary privileges and ceremonial ties from her children and grandchildren, Camilla reportedly shouted at staff, insisting on names, explanations, and an immediate fix to this madness. "How dare he? How dare he do this to me?" she allegedly yelled through tears. "After everything I've sacrificed and given, he repays me by erasing my family." Camilla found the timing, method, and message of the decision particularly painful. There was no private discussion or courteous warning from William. Instead, she learned of the directive through a briefing from a senior aide. Like any routine procedural update, it was cold, clinical, and, in her view, designed to humiliate. Camilla was inconsolable for hours. Staff say she canceled 2 events, refused meals, and instructed aides to clear her schedule indefinitely. One senior courtier noted she barely spoke for most of the day, only pacing, muttering, and crying. She kept saying, "He's trying to obliterate me." Sources close to her say she believed the move was deeply personal, tied to Diana rather than royal structure. "This is Diana's revenge through him," Camilla reportedly told a close friend. "He won't let go of the past, not even now, not even after I've proven myself." The most shocking claim? Camilla allegedly accused William of disrespecting his father's marriage and claimed Kate encouraged the decision, describing the Princess of Wales as smiling and silent while twisting the knife. Insiders say the relationship between Camilla and Kate, previously described as friendly but distant, is now ice cold. Camilla reportedly refused to make eye contact with Kate at a recent joint royal engagement, acknowledging her only briefly in public or behind the scenes. The message was clear. You stood by and let this happen. Even Charles, who has often balanced roles as peacemaker and monarch, was reportedly rattled by his wife's breakdown. One aide overheard Camilla shouting at him privately, "Your son has humiliated me before the entire country, and you're going to let him get away with it?" Charles, torn between devotion to his wife and his son's growing authority, offered no immediate response. Some insiders suggest Camilla was more hurt by this silence than by the decision itself. She expected Charles to intervene. One courtier said, "But deep down, she knows William's influence is growing, and that Charles is already preparing to cede more power to him." Camilla saw this as more than a matter of access and honors. It was about legacy, the belief that she had finally been accepted, not just as queen, but as an indelible thread in the fabric of royal history. Now, that thread is being snipped, one ceremonial cut at a time, following William's bold decision to suspend royal privileges for Camilla's family. The monarch finds himself entangled in the bitterest fight of his reign, a quiet but devastating war between his son and his wife. Palace insiders say the fallout is tearing him apart. Charles has always been guided by heart rather than confrontation. Unlike his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who ruled with icy restraint, Charles is known for being sensitive, sentimental, and prone to avoiding direct conflict. But William's royal reset leaves him nowhere to hide. Sources close to the king say he is visibly shaken, emotionally drained, and torn between loyalty and legacy. Camilla's emotional outbursts, accusations of betrayal, and abrupt withdrawal from public duties have placed immense strain on a monarch already grappling with intense public scrutiny and ongoing health concerns. Advisors say Charles is most distressed by William's resolve to stand firm. "We are not a royal family of in-laws and extras," William reportedly told his father during a private meeting. "We are a dynasty, and I refuse to let that line blur, not for Camilla, not for anyone." The conversation, though calm, was crushing. Charles allegedly pleaded with William to reconsider, not to restore Camilla's family, but to pause the decision or at least deliver it discreetly without media leaks or internal memos. William refused. "Transparency is the point," he later told aides. "It's not personal. It's about the institution, and institutions thrive by setting boundaries, especially in families like ours." That boundary now runs through the heart of the royal household. Camilla has reportedly begun distancing herself from the king, feeling abandoned by his silence. Palace sources say she has skipped several family strategy meetings, delayed correspondence with the Privy Council, and refused to engage directly with William and Kate. Behind closed doors, the Queen Consort interprets Charles's inaction as tacit approval of William's decision. "He let his son cut my family out, and he said nothing," she reportedly told a friend. "I supported him through decades of scandal. Now, where is he?" Some courtiers quietly sympathize with Camilla, recognizing that while her grandchildren were never royal by blood, they had become part of the broader royal narrative during Charles's reign. Others back William's decision, describing it as a necessary correction to years of soft favoritism and ambiguous boundaries. But regardless of perspective, the message is clear. The king is no longer in full control. "William is already acting like a king," one longtime advisor remarked. "And Charles knows it. He sees the writing on the wall, but doesn't want to lose his son or his wife." Caught between legacy and love, Charles now faces a choice, not just of sides, but of a path for the monarchy. Does he share his wife's vision of a more inclusive, blended royal family? Or does he yield to William's mission to protect the purity of succession and the crown's strength? Charles remains silent. But silence in the royal family is rarely neutral, and some within the palace believe it's only a matter of time before Charles must decide, his queen or his king-in-waiting. The directive has been signed. The protocol changes have been circulated. And just like that, Camilla's family's quiet privileges are no longer recorded in royal archives. What began as whispers of William's discontent has evolved into a full-scale overhaul of royal access. Palace insiders confirm that the Parker Bowles name, which had quietly risen through the ranks of ceremonial inclusion, is being steadily erased from the monarchy's machinery. The first signs arrived discreetly. Camilla's grandchildren, who played prominent roles at King Charles III's coronation, were not invited to an upcoming state banquet. No explanation was given. Then came the memo, an internal document distributed to royal household departments, clarifying that non-lineal relatives of the Queen Consort will no longer receive ceremonial access, honorary placement, or public recognition in official state documents. In short, Camilla's children and grandchildren were cut off. No more seats in the royal box, no more pages of honor rolls, no more press mentions, and, most significantly, no future titles or honorary orders, even as symbolic gestures. It was as if the palace declared, "You were never royal, and now the world will know." Senior officials say Prince William personally oversaw the move, insisting it be executed professionally but firmly. "This isn't retribution, it's restoration," he reportedly told staff. We owe it to the crown, not to the court of emotion. The order extended beyond ceremonies. It also impacted wealthier aspects of royal society. Security measures previously provided for Camilla's grandchildren have been scaled back to standard private citizen levels. Invitations to royal charity galas and public events were cancelled, and event organizers were quietly directed to refer all inquiries to the Palace Communications Office. Even more telling was an update to the official royal family website. A minor detail to most, but significant to royal observers, the Queen's Family tab has been removed. Camilla's lineage is no longer mentioned in current or future event planning, only in historical biographies. One source described it as a digital vanishing act, surgical, cold, effective. The mood inside Clarence House is described as grim and icy. Camilla, who had hoped her family would be honored for supporting the monarchy during challenging times, now feels betrayed, erased, and ignored. Sources say she has consulted longtime advisors and media contacts to explore whether she should craft her own legacy narrative, independent of the Windsor establishment. If they won't remember us kindly, they'll remember we didn't go quietly, she reportedly told a confidant. But the palace machinery has already shifted gears. Event preparations have resumed without the Parker Bowles family. Invitations for next year's Trooping the Color and Garter Day have been drafted, listing only direct Windsor descendants and working royals. Some staff speculate that William's measures, though ruthless, are restoring clarity to a monarchy that had lost its way. Others worry the human cost is steep, that the already fractured royal family has burned another bridge it may one day regret. But William appears unmoved. The monarchy he is building is not for comfort, but for stability. In his view, Camilla's family was a transient phase he has now permanently closed. There was no speech, no press release, no dramatic showdown before the cameras. But behind Buckingham Palace's grandeur, a transformation is underway, led by a future king no longer waiting in the wings. Prince William has drawn his line, redefining what the monarchy will look like in his reign. Lean, blood-bound, and ruthlessly focused on legacy over sentiment. Camilla's family, once poised to bask in the institution's glow, has been expelled with a stroke of a pen, not out of cruelty, but conviction. The days of fuzzy boundaries and honorary indulgences are over. In their place, William is forging something more traditional, defined, and some argue, colder. Step-grandchildren do not hold titles. Access is not granted as a favor. And in William's view, the crown must rest on a solid foundation of lineage, duty, and historical legitimacy. Insiders say his reign, though not yet begun, already casts a long shadow over the current one. Trapped in a storm of divided loyalties, King Charles has remained publicly silent. But in William's silence, memos, and precision, a new royal order is emerging. Camilla's legacy has no place in that order. Many royal loyalists believe this is long overdue, a necessary purification of a monarchy that veered too far into sentimentality and modern excess. Others see it as a colder, more corporate crown, trading warmth for structure and empathy for routine. Camilla's rage may fade. Charles's silence may persist. But William's message is unmistakable. The crown is not inherited through marriage. It is earned by blood, carried by duty and guarded by resolve. The monarchy he plans to lead will not be shared. It will be claimed, curated, and fiercely protected. For better or worse, the era of compromise is over. In its place stands Prince William's monarchy, cold, clean, and uncompromising. The conflict between Prince William and Camilla's family is not just a power struggle. It reflects a deeper desire to restore justice and moral values within a family that has endured deep wounds. Whether royal or ordinary, honor and truth remain the foundation of trust. Share your thoughts with us. Is William doing the right thing, or is he fueling a never-ending battle? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next shocking twists inside the British royal family.